Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show, and with me right now, I've got a very special guest. She is a dancer, cheerleader, former WCW Nitro Girl. I'm pleased to welcome the one, the only Nitro Girl Baby, aka Shannon McNeill. Shannon, welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Thank you, Stanley. So happy to be here. So happy to just be a part of this Wrestling with Heart because it's so important and the word you're spreading. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on as well. Let's talk about your childhood. Where are you from?
Okay, well, I am from a little bitty town called North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, kind of near Boone. People are usually aware of Boone, like Appalachian State University, like, 30 minutes down the mountain from that. But where I grew up at the time, we honestly did not have, you hear those, we didn't have a stoplight and blah, blah. We truly did not have a stoplight. We had stop signs, but we didn't get stoplights until I came home from college or something. So I'm from a little itty bitty place back. We have actually Wilkes County, I think, has the most dirt roads in North Carolina. So yeah, that's where I grew up. And I was fortunate enough to have a mother and a grandmother who cared enough about me to get me from one side of town to the other for dance lessons. So yeah, that's where I grew up, and it was a great place to grow up.
So it seems like it's a small town, I'm sure there's some activity, things to do, but when you're in a big city, it's different. You're constantly in that grind. But dance lessons at an early age, what was it about dance that made you go, I really love this?
I remember, and I'm sure, like, this is way before many. I don't even. I remember a little bit of it. Solid Gold, Solid Gold Dancers. And I can't remember the other name. It was a dance show. But those were my favorite shows when I was a little kid, besides wrestling. Those were my three. The two dance shows and the wrestling with my little brother.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and my grandmother always laughed, and she's like, I knew you were going to be a dancer from the moment you started standing up. She said you were just bobbing up and down and you kicked your little diaper off and you kept going. And she said, you've been my dancing girl ever since. And that's really true. I was.
So you're a fan of wrestling at an early age. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I grew up watching it. I mean, we look forward. I don't remember what night it came on, but my little brother and I mean, the Four Horsemen, and, I remember, oh my golly, Sting. He wanted to be Sting, right? And who was I? I can't remember, but I was one and he was another. And he was 4 years younger than me. So we were about the same, height, weight, whatever. And we would wrestle, and we'd set up little wrestling rings downstairs in the basement. And we'd had these little, we had these little air blow up dolls, and we'd do the suplex and the what's that called? I can't even think of the name of it. The sleeper hold. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We did all that stuff. We played wrestling all the time in my basement. I did that with my little brother. So yeah, I grew up on this, and it's still surreal to even look back and think, wow, I grew up watching this and I got to be with those people that are so amazing.
Yes. It's like a full circle moment. I mean, you're a part of that time period. I mean, the height of the Monday Night Wars, WCW, WWE going neck and neck with each other for brand supremacy and ratings, and it was a hot time in the business. And you got to be a part of that with the Nitro Girls. That's something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah, thank you. It was, and it was just crazy how it came about. This I would imagine maybe one of your questions, like how did you get into it? And I don't want to skip forward and
Yeah,
past anything, but
yeah.
it was. I just could not believe it, the first time I was on TV doing Monday Night Nitro. I'm like, this is for you, Dane. That was my little brother. That's my little brother, and my mom. This is for you guys, and it's still crazy to think about that I was and still am a part of it because, like, wrestling fans are the best in the world. They are. We are. Not they, we. We
Hmm.
are. We are die hard fans. We are. We are.
Yes, I mean they're the most passionate, you know. I
For
think
real.
that they have just they really, get invested in the storylines and have their favorites, cheer who they want to, boo for whoever they want to. They love the product. They love going to the shows, buying the merchandise. They are there, for their favorites. And I think that's amazing to see all these years later, they still love professional wrestling. They still love it. It's great. And
It, yes.
so, okay, so let's kind of go back now, dancing.
Mhm.
Um, Nervous at first, performing in front of people, or, things that you want to talk about as far as like, practicing, getting the steps in.
Oh, well. So I was dancing for the Charlotte Hornets NBA Honeybees. And I guess there was a flyer or something that went out, and there was this search for the new Nitro Girl. And I'm like, okay, a new Nitro Girl? There's no way. But it's in Philadelphia. And I was in school at the time, and I just happened to have a really good friend. Her name was Julie, and her grandmother and her family actually lived in Philadelphia. I said, Julie, what do you say we go up and stay with your grandmother? I want to go audition for a chance to be a Nitro Girl. And she's like, a what? I said, and I explained it to her. So that's how that all happened. So I went to that, drove up to Philadelphia, no money, college student, no money, hopes and dreams, and trying to live my best life. Went to the audition, and I thought, yeah, that'll be good because up there, people, it's probably cold, and not that it's not cold in Charlotte, but North Carolina, but I was like, maybe they won't, maybe they'll be like pale and pasty. Maybe I'll have something or something. Walk in, who's the first person I see? Stacy Keebler. I'm like, okay, well, Julie, I don't even think we had cell phones. Maybe we had cell phones. I don't even remember back then. So,
Probably maybe one or two around, the big bulky kind. They're not like the iPhones or
oh,
the
yeah,
the Androids that we have today. Very, very like what we kind of considered high tech then was probably like low tech today.
dinosaur today.
Yeah.
Like, MapQuest is how we got along back then. We knew where
Mm-hmm.
we were going and print out our map quest. So, I was like, every audition is one under your belt. It's good to have under your belt. So I went and I auditioned, and of course, Stacy Keebler won it. I mean, it's Stacy Keebler. She's, you know, a million feet tall, and her legs are like up to my, underarms or whatever. And she was so sweet and beautiful. So I did not win, but I then was at work like maybe a week later, and I received a phone call, and they needed another blonde to be another Nitro Girl, and they chose me. Little me from little North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. I'm like, are you kidding? Really? So yeah, that's how my career started.
Yeah, I mean, you were doing the stuff with the NBA, the Honeybees before all that, so that that prepared you for that audition, working in front of crowds, being in front of millions of people. Um, any anything that was similar that you noticed or different that you noticed between your time in the NBA versus your time in WCW as far as like crowds and as far as
Oh,
like the environment?
oh, sure, yeah. Um, oh my golly, compared going to an NBA game and a wrestling match is night and day. NBA people are like, yay, yay. But boy, when you're going out, because I was a valet with Chris Canyon, and that was fun. That was just another, play on the storyline that we went through. Like you said, they love who they love and they do not like who they do not like. So when we were on the road, um, going out with Chris Canyon, if he was the bad guy at the time, we've had popcorn thrown at us and sodas and this and that, but I didn't take it personally. I mean, that these guys grew up with these people and they love who they love and they disliked who they disliked. And that's one of the things that made it amazing. The heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all about the passion, they really like if they want to get behind you, they'll let you know. If they
Mm.
don't, they don't.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I remember we were at a show, I don't remember where, but a house show, we called it. And I was walking out with Chris and Chameleon, and walking out, and someone spat in my face. And I'm like, okay, they really don't like this guy. But blew it off, whatever. It's all a process. It was, no hard feelings. It was worth it. It was so much fun.
And Chris Canyon, what a just a good dude all around. Still miss him to this day. Talented individual. Um,
Yeah, I he would make sure, first of all, he would make sure all of us, we girls, were okay. But then he would always make sure, even after um, Chameleon and I were not his valets, he'd always make sure, to come check on us. He like took us under his wing because, I was the youngest one. That's one of the reasons they call me baby number two, because my little voice, I still sound like I'm 12, even though I'm a little bit older than that now. But, that was one of the cool things about him. He always, but not only him, I mean, a lot of them, a lot of the wrestlers made sure the girls were okay. Some did not, but Chris was definitely one of the ones who did.
Now, when you get to TV, when you get to the shows, kind of walk me through like the process, like the day in the life almost of a Nitro Girl.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So we get there on We would fly out on Sunday, get to the venue. So we'd see the layout. We'd learn the choreography. I think at the time it was on VHS tapes. I mean, I'm dating myself right now, but I really think it was. And some
I
of these
believe
people,
it.
yeah, right? Some of these people probably are like, what are those? So you may have to Google what a VHS tape was. But I think that's how we learn them, our dances. So we go home, practice, get to the venue, practice together, um, go to costume, and our amazing costume ladies, I cannot remember their names. Oh geez. But anyway, they had our measurements. So we'd try our stuff on. So we'd get there early, try our stuff on, go rehearse our dances, what have you. Hair and makeup, which was not one of my favorite things because I can't sit still very long because I just want to get up and be doing something. Then I'm like, sitting in a makeup chair, believe it or not, is hard work, at least for someone who wants to be moving around a lot. So that's one of the things we did. And then, it was just show on, show time, let's go. And bam. I wasn't nervous because I had been dancing in front of a crowd for so long. Um, it was just home for me. Performing is my thing. Love it still to this day. I miss it still to this day, which is one of the reasons I'm bringing back a presence, which we can get a little bit into a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah, that's what it was like. Backstage, we'd see the wrestlers. They'd be going over their stuff, what they're going to do, and they get into the ring and shake hands and go out there, hate each other, come back. Good job, buddy. It was quite interesting. We had a lot of routines. One of my favorites was I think it was popular at that time was Feel Like a Woman by
Mm. Shania
Shania.
Twain.
Yeah. So we had these, we just wore these little cute just men's I mean not polo, but like dress shirts with nice little bottoms and tops underneath, and I think some thigh highs. And that was one of the crowd favorites. Oh wait, but another one that was one of my favorites, I do not remember the name of the song, but we each had a Nitro Girl top. Mine, of course,
Hmm.
was pink because I was baby. And we cut it down the top and then we rip it off when we get on the top of the first ring or the first rope, not the second or the third. Those things are really tall.
Yeah,
They don't
I'd
look that tall.
imagine.
They're freaking tall. So we get up on those and rip them off and throw them out to the crowd. That was also my favorite. Those were my two favorites because those were the crowd favorites. So
And
whatever made the crowd happy, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's fun to, to get up on the stage and entertain the fans because it creates that memory that will last a lifetime. And that's what you're doing is putting a smile on someone's face, giving them something that they'll always remember. And the Nitro Girls were a huge part of WCW television, WCW programming. Do you still keep in touch with any of the Nitro Girls?
I have um since well when all of this was going on back 20 years ago when I was doing it, we didn't, like I said, we used MapQuest. I get off the plane and use my MapQuest. Here, a little kid from really seriously, barely 20 years old, from a tiny little town, trying to figure out how the heck to drive around in Los Angeles with a MapQuest map. Kids these days don't even know what a map is, really. Um, so it was a little bit more difficult to keep in touch with the girls. but I have been able to get in touch with a couple of us, or of the girls, within the last couple few years. And it's interesting because most of us have gotten into healthcare, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I believe Spice, she does a lot of she's very passionate about the medical field.
Hmm.
Tigress, I believe as well is another one.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's very cool that they found something that they like to do and they're pursuing it. I got to interview Che a while back.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so she was great. So it's yeah, it's just so amazing, that you ladies still, the fans still remember you all and the legacies that you know, have kept alive, have kept going.
Thank you. Yes, it is. And I think when I thought about it, I was like, and Star, she was one of the newer ones that was a newer one with me. And she did physical therapy assistant, I think, or maybe physical therapist. I'm an occupational therapist.
Mm.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's just giving. We are truly loving, giving people who try to be day makers. That's what it's about, making people happy, giving the love, sharing the love. That, if we couldn't do it on stage anymore because we didn't have the ring stage to do it in, we'll find another way. So my way was occupational therapy. I know Spice did chiropractic, I'm pretty sure. And uh uh yeah, Star, yeah, physical therapy. And yeah, a lot of us went into the medical field. It's just I feel like being an entertainer is also loving the people
Yeah.
in medical field.
Yeah, I mean you're around so many individuals, every day, working in whatever capacity. So,
Mhm.
occupational therapy, what made you decide to pursue that field?
Well, I've had a lot of people ask me, why did you quit Nitro Girls after a year? That is true because I had one semester of school left, just one semester of college. And turns out it was actually a good move because that's when, we were sold to WWE and Nitro Girls were no more at that point. So I really would have only been working like 2 more months or three at that time. So I finished my undergraduate, which was special education. Um, did that, decided, I like kids, but not a lot at one time. And I decided I've always loved the geriatric population. And so the last 15 or since I finished graduate school, I've been with working OT with within a skilled nursing facility helping geriatric patients.
Hmm, that's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about the job?
Oh, oh, there's so many. The families or getting a patient in who you really do not think, had a massive stroke or something. And, I was a rehabilitation director for quite some time. And I would have to go to care plan meetings and say, it's hard to look at a family and say, listen, mama may not be coming home ever. Mama may not be making it 36 more hours, but mama often did. And that was my favorite part. Just watching and cheer. I may not have been cheering in the ring and I may not have been in the big stage, but I tell you, I was in my patient's ears I was in their ears and I was praying and letting them know that you believe you achieve. You believe you achieve. Do not give up. You are going to get home. You are going to get better. And that was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you motivated them, whenever they were going through a hard time in their life because you don't want these patients to suffer. You want them to get better and get the help that they need so that they can live a healthy life.
Absolutely. And I've held so many families and so many patients and just been like that sounding board for them. And I was just that person for them when they needed it. We all have to be that person for someone at some point in the life in people's lives. And that was my favorite part of it.
Now, when you were as part of the Nitro Girls, did you guys do anything to help out as far as like going to see patients or
Oh yeah. I'll never forget. Sugar Shane Helms and I were at a children's hospital, and that was one of the hardest visits because we did quite a bit of things like that, but that's the one that stands out to me because he and I both were, just tear eyed. And that was actually one of the things that led me to, I knew I was doing special education, but that's also one of the things that led me to doing occupational therapy as well.
hmm.
Yeah, so it's strange. It's interesting how things work out, and you can look back and see what was planned before you didn't know was happening ahead.
It's like it's foreshadowing future events, Things
Absolutely.
always seem to work in a different cycle, and so as fate would have it, you're working with, your patients now, and you've been a fan of wrestling for so many years. You work for WCW, you're traveling, you're meeting your heroes. You mentioned Sting earlier. I mean, you were around him during your time in WCW. What was it like being around Sting during this time?
You know, I got to see him and Goldberg, but they were very quiet.
Hmm.
They did not come to the after parties at the hotel bars like we all did. Not we all, but most of us did. Um, they would go to their rooms. They were not, you know, they were very nice, very, very, you know, humble men, but they did not go party. They didn't have one little bit of that in them, and I thought that was really cool. I think they were both married. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it was really neat just to even see them at, up close, just to be with them. And of course, Ric Flair. I mean, everybody always talks about Ric Flair, but he and I hung out all the time because we lived in Charlotte and we were always on planes together. And yes, he's always Ric Flair. It's not an act. He's always just as energetic. I've never seen that man just very, very, very calm. He is one of his own.
He's always on. The red light is always on.
Absolutely. He's such a great guy.
Mhm.
He really, all these guys were and are. It was just crazy.
Well, you know, we're about 20 or so years, removed from, the WCW days and everything. Do you still keep up with wrestling at all, or do you know a little bit about the current product at all?
Honestly, I am just now to the point in my career as an occupational therapist where I'm able to take a step back and look at everything as it is. That's why I'm coming back into the public eye. And pardon me, I was listening to your previous podcast you had with Tom. Stone, yes. That was really, really good. And he was
Thank you.
talking about things were different back then. We didn't have social media. So I started thinking about it, and that's so right, because we just did the autograph signings, no time to hang out with our fans and really get to meet them. But now, yeah, I'm a little older. I have a little bit more time, and the internet, that's really what it is, being a day maker, spreading joy. And the love, that's what my little sign says behind me, love. And
Aw,
that's what it's about. That's
that's
what I've always been about, making people happy. It makes me happy, makes them happy, so it's perfect.
and it is, So it's there's that always that good feeling inside. It makes you feel good to know when you're putting a smile on someone's face or making their day. So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
nothing better, no greater feeling in the world than that. Um, what is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Oh, wow. Um, I've done such different things. My family and we have fed the homeless for a long time. And especially on the holidays. The holidays are the hardest for most people. And we've often on Christmas Eve gone, and not just them, but we prepare, like my mom crochets scarves all year long for the because it's cold here, and or where she lives. And it's just giving back, because we all need to be thankful for what we are blessed with. And we never know, something could happen, and our circumstances may easily change. But for right now, when we are where we are and we can help, I've helped. I'm very passionate about. I've helped women with drug and alcohol problems, um, recovery. Done quite a few things with them, uh, on a cook team for. I focus mostly on women and children, just because that's what. But I certainly don't have. I've taught my family, nephews, what have you, give. They know what, and I used to carry, and I need to get back to this, little paper bags full of bottled water, peanut butter, and a tiny little Bible, because we have a lot of homeless people where I used to live. So I just give those out to people and things, just spread the love. That's really, I know that sounds cheesy and whatever, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, of course, especially in this day and age, we've got so many people out there that are just they don't have food or water, they don't have a home, place to live. They need, some kind of reminder like, hey, you still belong, in the community, and you're important. We still want you to, we want you to be a part of our community.
Yeah, because sometimes you can't help the cards you've been dealt. And that's where hope and love and faith and trust comes in. And that's what I try to get across to people, in which I have the honor to help.
I love to hear that. And you've definitely spread some love and positivity on this podcast with us today. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to the show. Shannon means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Uh, I
Oh,
just want to say you're more than welcome to come back.
really? I
Yes,
love that. I really would. Let's schedule a year from now. Ooh, that'll be next Christmas.
let's do it.
Let's
We'll
do
make
it
it
and see.
happen.
Okay. Thank
Yes.
I'm so blessed and thankful, and so happy to be back. Everybody, come find me and keep following this guy. He's good stuff. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, it means a lot, and I appreciate it very much. So, thanks again.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.